We were here all together yesterday. And it's so interesting how I remember my old choir director often used to say, just keep living, just keep living. Oh, you haven't dealt with that? Just keep living, just keep living. And it's so, I'm 38 years old and 39 in June. And I've experienced transitions of people in my lifetime. And it's so interesting how in college, when my choir director was like, just keep living, just keep living, at that point, I don't think I had lost anybody. Not lost. I don't think I had dealt with, I did. It had been some time though. And yeah, it's one of my so instead of dragging everything out, so to speak, one of my, so to speak, that those are filler words, as the woman who speaks teaches the English language, she's like, these are filler words. So as I say, so to speak, that's kind of a filler term. Anyway, so I have international friends through the magic of the internet and Facebook largely. And one of my international friends who actually lived in Kenya. He what and it's interesting to speak about him and his earthly existence in the past tense. He was a homosexual in Kenya. Kenya is not quite as difficult compared to some other countries. And he was like, yeah, I'm gay and I live here and I'm openly gay and it's okay, And I was like, really? Okay. Anyway, he was also in the Kenyan military. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And he was openly gay, or at least he had friends who knew his sexuality in the military and they were cool. And I was like, that's cool. Kind of in the same way, though, that when I hear about women in such positions of strength and force, I'm like, darn right, sister, yes. So I kind of felt the same way for him. I'm like, wow, he's homosexual, openly homosexual, and then the Kenyan military. That's kind of dope. And I also give hats off kudos to people who are openly gay in the American military. Now, I will say this, it's my understanding that it seems like the American military is very a very open liberal place. Like they live like an example of what the world should be, like open to different kinds of people all coming together with a common goal. And my experience with people who have been or are in the military is often that they are more open and accepting. You can tell me I'm wrong. I don't know, but that's been my personal experience. Anyway, so as far as the Kenyan guy, and I have a couple or a few Kenyan friends. It's so the internet really has made the world a smaller place. We're all coming together. And as far as he is concerned, I sent him a message a while ago because, of course, we communicate through the magic of Facebook. And I noticed he hadn't responded. And I was like, oh, well, maybe he was. Ooh, I'm just realizing the last thing we spoke about. I sent him a photo of this Maasai warrior. The Maasai tribe is in Kenya, and a Maasai warrior. And I was like, I fantasize that I will be his husband and he will be my husband. And it's like, it's definitely a long shot, but a long shot to the extent that it's like, I don't even almost know him personally. But I just came across his photo in Google. I did a Google search for Maasai man, and he was so fine. Oh my gosh. And I was like, you know what? Instead of me spending all of this time and hope trying to commit to somebody in real life, somebody in person who doesn't care, I can just mentally commit to him. And I gave him a name that it's my understanding is the popular name in Kenya, Kamau. And I was with Kamau. And I sent him that message and he was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, yes, I am in love with Kamau. And he was like, okay, cool. And then I, we would communicate intermittently. So that was sort of the end of that conversation. Then I sent him another message a little time later, and he didn't respond. And I'm like, is he upset about the fact that I told him that I was looking to marry a Kenyan man from Google, a Maasai tribe, a Maasai warrior from Google, a Google search? And he hadn't responded. So I was like, is he upset about that? And then I would send him some other messages and he didn't respond. And I was like, hmm. And it's interesting how people take things personally. And then I was like, ooh, yeah. See, that ooh that I just gave was me thinking about when I walked. I don't know. I question like if sharing this will help somebody, but walking in and finding my granddad passed away, and I was ooh okay, and I think I'll leave it there. So it's one of those things that as far as the Kenyan dude. Okay, so the reason I brought up my granddad is because I noticed he was in his room because we were living together, and I noticed he was in his room a little bit longer than normal because he would always be the type to get up and get out and get the day going. Very, very much, very, very active, very admirably so, considering he was in his 80s, every day, every day. And I was like, what? He's spending a little extra time, I guess, in bed today. And I had the question, well, what if something is going on? And I wondered, and just curious. But finally I was like, well, let me go ahead and see, and that's when I found him. So as it relates to the Kenyan guy, I I was like, I don't want to check his Facebook and see what people are saying. I was in denial. Like, well, hopefully he's just ignoring me because I had at that point sent a number of messages to which he had not responded. And I was like, well, I think today I went ahead and checked his Facebook. And sure enough, there were the messages that it was people were like, oh, why did we have to lose a good one? Blah, 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 all of that. And that reminded me of when a friend of mine, another friend of mine who lived here in Ohio before I moved to Ohio, we had the whole MS diagnosis and we connected on that. And she hadn't responded to me in a little while. And I was like, oh, well, I guess, she's busy living her life. So it's okay. And then I was like, well, let me go ahead and check on her Facebook. And sure enough, on her Facebook, they also had those, oh, they took a good one. A good one was taken. All of that. And it's interesting. Anyway, I don't need to go on and on forever. How many minutes? 13. But yeah, so my Kenyan friend, oof, and he was young, y'all. He passed away. And by he was young, I mean he was a 96 baby. And 96 is actually the end of millennial. Millennial goes from 82 to 96. So, anyway, talk to y'all later, social media world. Peace. Stay blessed. Live love. Live love. We were here all together yesterday. Kelly Rowland stole that song. Now I don't know if he was stolen, but that particular line of the song, yesterday we were here all together yesterday. Peace, stay blessed.